A large part of building a user interface is enabling users to input information through forms. Forms include elements that allow users to press buttons, input text, check boxes, and select specific options. We see forms every day on the internet. When we're making a post on social media, filling out credit card information on an e-commerce site, or simply signing up for something online, these are all examples of forms. The elements commonly used in a form, such as buttons and different types of inputs, do not always have to be inside the HTML form element. They can be used on their own. However, for this example, we will be looking at organizing all these elements together under one form element. Here is what this might look like. We would start with a form element, just like the rest of our HTML has an opening and a closing tag, and everything in between these tags will be the content of the form. We can then go ahead and create some input, and the input element is very important to include a type attribute to tell it which type it will be. And we're going to set this to text. So this is going to be a text box that we can write something in. We can then go ahead and give it a name, say first name. This element is going to tell us how we're going to be able to refer to the value that's input into this text. Then we can go ahead and we can create a placeholder, and placeholder is going to be some text that holds the place until a user actually enters their own text. So we'll go ahead and say first name, and then just close it like that. Let's create another input. The type will be text as well. We'll go ahead and say name equals last name. Again, the name attribute is just some identifier information. And then placeholder, set that equal to last name. And if I go ahead and render this right now, we can see that they're both together. Here's the placeholder text, that first name and that last name right there. We can go ahead and come back here. Let's put a break here, which again, if I refresh that, is going to move the last name text box to the next line. Now let's go ahead and put 2 break lines here. And then after this, we can have the user select their ice cream preference. So let's put some text here and say ice cream preference. Then we'll put a line break there. And then we'll go ahead and create another input element. But this time, the type is going to be radio, which means radio button. These are the round circular buttons where you can only select one of them. So we can go ahead and say name equals ice cream with a dash. Now, with our radio button, the name is important because it's going to group these together, and you're only going to be able to select one of the options within the ice cream radio buttons. So we're going to create multiple inputs with the same name for our radio buttons. We'll say the value on this one equals chocolate. And then we are going to, next to this, go ahead and put some text saying chocolate. And then we'll put a break line. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this, and we're going to put a couple more options. So this one's value will be vanilla. We'll change this text to vanilla just so the user can see it. Remember, this text doesn't do anything. It can be whatever we want, but we want the user to be able to see what they're selecting. And then we'll go ahead and call the last one swirl. So if we save this, we can come back here and refresh, and then we can see we can select one of these and only one of them. Now we can go ahead and add one more input here, and this one we're going to say the type is equal to submit and the value is equal to submit. Oops, let's go ahead and do that. Save this and come back and refresh it, and then we've got this submit button right here. And we can see it actually submitted when it's inside of a form. When you hit the submit button, it actually sent the first name equals the value I had in there, last name equals the value I had in there, and the ice cream equals the value that was associated with it. So That's what the names, the first name, the last name right there in camel case, first name, last name, that's what they're for. They help create the identifier for the value that gets put into the form if we're going to send that data to anywhere. Now we can also create buttons outside or inside of forms that aren't submit buttons by using the button element, which is just button, and then you put whatever you want on it. So we say click me. We can refresh this, and here's this click me button. It's not doing anything right now, but once we add some JavaScript, it will be able to do whatever we tell it to do.